This video is all about the tasty mushroom ingredient in Pokémon Sleep, and in this video I'll talk about all the Pokémon that have the tasty mushroom as an option. When it comes to this ingredient, it is a rare ingredient, and there is only a single Pokémon that can do double mushroom, at least at this point in time. There could be an update in the future where there is an ingredient specialist that has the tasty mushrooms in all three spots. But for the most part, Gengar is going to be your mushroom farmer. It is the only Pokemon that is an ingredient specialist that has it available at level 30. And as mentioned, there are no Pokemon that has it at level 1. And for the most part, the rest of the Pokemon will unlock it at level 60, which currently is not available because rank 55 and level 55 is the current cap. So it could be coming soon, potentially, but for the most part, it's going to be all about that Gengar. So I'm thinking we can just click through the other Pokemon just to have the reference point, and then we can dig a little bit deeper on the Gengar. So we have the Abomasnow here as an ingredient specialist, and then we have the Gengar as an ingredient specialist. The other two are Golem and Absol. In my opinion, the Absol should definitely not have the mushroom here. That would be really detrimental just because the apple and cacao combo is really good for the dessert week. On the Golem, I would say you probably want to preserve it for the beans. It is a very clear winner in terms of mono beans, and the mono beans is going to be incredibly strong on the Golem. And it also depends a little bit on your collection. Potentially the double potato can be pretty strong on the Golem. It just depends on what you need overall. So Absol, Golem, we did have a look at the Abomasnow's, the Abomasnow. Not a good option with the mushroom here. For the most part, you want to look for the Abomasnow for the eggs. Don't do the triple tomato, and don't do the mushroom. You want the double eggs here on the Abomasnow. And at that point, there are no other skill, ingredient specialists that carry the mushrooms that are worthwhile talking about, and so we're gonna jump right into the expansion here and talk about Gengar. Gengar overall is one of the best Pokemon in the whole game. The reason for that is the double mushroom. The mushroom has one of the highest values in the game in terms of the ingredient value. If I'm not mistaken, it's number 3. We can have a look here. We got the tasty mushroom, we got the large leek, and then we have the slowpoke tails, just for reference. The other thing with Gengar is it is incredibly fast. It does have a very slow, or low rather, ingredient drop rate, so that is unfortunate, but thankfully we can look for a good nature. That is definitely going to be a criteria for the Gengar, and then you also want to look for that ingredient finder M. Since Gengar can evolve twice, you can catch it as a Ghastly and get an additional 10 into the inventory here. That is going to be pretty strong. Overall though, I don't think you're going to have a big problem with inventory, at least if you check your game somewhat frequently. The reason here is the high value of the tasty mushroom, which leaves it a low count every time you drop it. Gengar is also an interesting Pokemon in the sense that because this ingredient drop rate is so low, and because it is so incredibly fast, Gengar is one of the exceptions where you could potentially, and if we place these a little bit differently, you could look for the berry finding, and that would be perfectly fine on the Gengar, just because it has decent inventory, it is incredibly fast, and it does have a decent ingredient rate. So even though you are looking for that nature with ingredient finding up for the most part, if you somehow find a berry sub-skill, even the lonely nature here is going to be just okay on the Gengar, and even to an extent if you find the helping speed M. At that point, you may also want to consider the inventory, and Gengar in this regard is quite flexible as long as you find the double mushrooms. The double mushrooms here is going to be a big deal. The triple herb is a pattern, but now that Dragonite is a Pokemon in the ingredients category, you mostly want to preserve the triple herb here for the Dragonite. So even at level 30, the Gengar is going to produce a lot of mushrooms, and you can consider a variety here in the sub-skills. For the most part, you do not want a nature here that is down ingredient rate. That's going to be quite detrimental, and your overall ingredient collection as an ingredient specialist is going to be very poor. In my opinion, the overall best set for the Gengar is probably ingredient finding M, helping speed M, and the rash nature. You don't care too much about the main skill, and you just have a lot of things to consider. You don't have to worry too much about the speed. You don't have to worry too much about the inventory, just a little bit on the ingredient rate. But then again, if you find that berry finding, you're going to be pretty set overall. So for the most part, Gengar is just a very, very solid Pokemon, and the main consideration is that ingredient list, just because it is so unique with the double mushroom, at least for now. There could be a potential new Pokemon in the future that carry all 3 mushrooms. Then to an extent, Gengar may be dethroned, and the triple herb could be a consideration, but it's just there are too many things in favor of the Gengar to where the speed, the ingredient rate, and the inventory in combination here just leaves you with a lot of options. So your chance of finding a great Gengar is quite high, and I would say the only real drawback is the encounter rate. It is a bit difficult to find the Ghastly, and for the most part you're really gonna be on the hook for a Gengar during the Halloween event, and yeah, just keep that in mind. So yeah, Gengar definitely a Pokemon to consider in terms of the mushroom. For the most part, the remaining part here is just going to be a rapid fire, just listing of the other Pokemon that can potentially be worthwhile the consideration. The Primeape does carry the double mushrooms that can be interesting, but it is a berry specialist, so you shouldn't focus too much about it. Sudowoodo has it as a third option. I hate to bring up the Wobbuffet again, but here it is, double mushroom. Have the Sableye, also with the double mushroom. In this case, it's got a bigger ingredient drop than most non-ingredient specialists, so that is interesting. We have the Swalot, and we have the Banette coming in late there at level 60, and then that was it. So hope you enjoyed this video on the mushrooms. It is pretty one-dimensional. Go for the double mushrooms on the Gengar. The Gengar in terms of sub-skills is quite flexible. It's just hard to get that Ghastly encounter. So, hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Bubbles went on the other side as usual. And thank you for watching.